Hello, I'm Stephen McCaul from Noise Engineering, and I am here to do a quick rig rundown of this case that I have been posting performances of lately. There's going to be a breakdown in 6 parts. Let's talk about the voicing. So what are the actual oscillators and what sounds do they make? There are actually 6 voices in this case, which is pretty sophisticated, I suppose, for this small of a case. The first voice is an incus, and it's usually sees duty as a kick. Let me clean that up a little bit here. There we go. The second voice is another incus. It usually is a little more clangy of a use as another clangy bit. Third voice is a temp. It's almost always a little hi-hatty kind of thing. Fourth voice is a debel, which is used often as a melody or sometimes a bass, sometimes something just clanky. Then we have 2 more voices that are both kind of basses, though one of them is can sometimes be used for other things. So the first voice is a vert iter running through an amplilegio. So that's the big womp. And then the last voice here, voice number 6, is a manus. So the mix here is entirely handled by a Zermixa. There are sort of 2 interesting mix structures going on. So the first 3 voices are routed through send A to be essentially a rhythm submix. Let me kill everything but those 3 guys. Which is being compressed by a Libre Legio. So those 3 voices get mixed, sent to Libre Legio, and then back in on a channel. That is actually a return in parallel, so it's sort of it is a parallel compressor. But you can hear just the kick interacts in dynamics pretty heavily with the hi-hat in this, for example. So there's a lot of fun dynamic compression, some kind of ducking-like effects that all happen because of this little submix. So the second send on the Zermixa is just set up to be a Electus, pretty straightforward. And it's on a return, so I can control the level of the reverb. It is also tempo synced. The way it's set up right now, you can't really hear that. Let me make the delay bigger. And turn on channel 4. And make that clangier. Okay, so after Electus, the main out of the Zermixa goes into a polydactyl. It's pretty much just set at a mix of settings that I prefer. But I do use the saturation effect dynamically. So, and it's actually controlled over here, but when the whole mix gets distorted, it's because I'm modulating the saturation control in the polydactyl. Okay, so we've covered the voices, we've covered the mix, covered the effects. Let me turn Electus down. Okay, so then the more performative things. So the real core brain is this little sequencer, and this is a prototype that's doesn't really make sense to ever produce, but it's just a piece of hardware that I frequently used to just play with stuff. And so right now it's a pretty simple, there's a 16-step sequencer. You can manually edit, but then you can also overlay. Essentially, these are generalizations of Euclidean rhythms, or just the various linear rhythms if you superimpose a line onto a grid that are all just on a slider. But it makes it really easy to very quickly just throw together some either really basic rhythms or really some pretty complicated and heavily syncopated stuff. There's also a sync sec up here in the corner. Let's just change the scale a little bit. And so this sequencer can also trigger that. So let's just have channel 4 play the sequence, the arpeggiated part. So that's the gate control. All of the triggers are handled through this, and then the pitch control is handled with the sync sec. So then we have the bottom left section, which is really kind of the key to the whole case. So it's 3 lapsus Oz's and 1 mimetic digitalis. So these are all just mapped to controls that I kind of mastered controls for the whole setup. So the first 4 controls are actually just the decay controls for the first 4 voices, but as you go from these crazy, it's really great for building these little, like, these transitions just built on no length. The next 4 are actually essentially voice cross modulation. So the Alia has envelope outs, and so we route the envelope outs from one voice to another voice, and this scales the level of that. And all of these route for all but one routes to actually multiple parameters. So these are actually kind of complicated interactions. So you can get some just really crazy sounds going on. Bring in everything again. So then the next 2 are the envelopes for the Vert and Manus. So similar kind of envelope controls. Manus also goes into free run here, which can be is another just interesting thing to do sometimes. And then these 2 controls actually are controlling signals from the mimetic digitalis. So, mimetic digitalis has 4 channels at step CV. So, channel 1 is, let me calm this down just a little, make it a little easier to hear everything. So let's just do a shred. So we're going to pattern shred channel 1. So channel 1 actually routes into this slider on the lapsus Oz, which goes into the saw mod parameter. The Vert is on the saw mode, so it also has a saw mod like parameter. You can hear so that's a really super fun modulation used all over the place. And then the unmentioned slider so far, number 3 on lapsus Oz 3 is one of the tone controls for the kick. So this allows me to modulate the kick. Channel 3 on the MD is another parameter of the kick. You can hear me. I have a lot of tonal control over the kick with the sort of the distorty parameters of it. And then the last channel on the MD is just the saturation control on the polydactyl. So when we want to do a full mix distortion, we just hit go there and it goes. That's pretty much it. A couple of the jams I use another case that is next to this case for just as an effects send. There's a follow Versio up there, but that is the only module I've used in these jams outside of this case. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this was educational. If you have any questions or want to talk about this, we have standard social medias, and we recently have set up a Discord server where you can come and talk to us directly. And if you would like to, please join. Anyway, thanks for your time, and I hope this was useful.